This is going to be the third and final video on this impeachment topic. I wanted to show everybody here, there's been a lot of questions. I just want to reiterate that the impeachment process is a process that's done by the House, but the people have to bring the House the evidence and the complaint or the petition. Otherwise, they don't know what's going on. They have no idea how to find this stuff or what's going on. Most of them weren't even there when some of this stuff was put in place, so keep that in mind. Another thing I want you to do is, if you are affected by a domestic relations issue, ask any employee in the domestic relations section what type of business they're in, what they're doing, and they're going to tell you. Their answer is going to be they're part of the court. It's a lie. As you saw in the previous video, part number 2, I believe it was, where the cooperative agreement clearly says they're an independent contractor, not an agent or employee of the Commonwealth. And in the judicial independence portion, that cooperative agreement doesn't expand any jurisdiction of the court. So it's a lie. They're not part of the court. Now you go into the Court of Common Pleas and you ask, go to the Prothonotary office and ask, where can I find the domestic relations section? And if it's not in the same building, they're gonna tell you no matter what. They're gonna say the domestic relations is not part of the court if they're honest. Now in my county, they do tell you they're not part of the court, but if you go down to the domestics, they'll say we're part of the court. So domestic is lying, and they're doing it because that's how they make their money. So another thing I wanted to discuss is the purpose and intent of this impeachment that I've got going on. And this is my purpose and intent, and yours might be different. But my purpose and intent is to get the domestic relations to act as Public Law 93-647 says they should be acting. And I got it here. It says for the purpose of encouraging each state. Now, last time I checked, encouraging is not a mandatory, it's not mandatory verbiage in any language, even legalese. It's voluntary. So I'm attempting to get them to remove these judges from the domestic relations, impeach them because what they did was a violation of their oath of office, and it's considered a prohibited activity under the Constitution. But in removing these judges, we can influence legislators to change the way this is set up and remove the judiciary, because it's also a violation of separation of powers, but remove the judiciary from the enforcement of these executive revenue generating systems. Because you saw in the cooperative agreements there's incentives. That's what it's all about. It's not about your child or the baby's mama or any of that. It's about how the state can profit from your birth of your child. And that's also human trafficking when you get into that too, but I am not getting in there. I did mention it in my impeachment process, but what you do is up to you. But if you can get the judicial branch out of the domestic relations, what authority they're going to have? They're going to be just like McDonald's. They don't have a judge sitting there scaring you to death. They don't have the sheriff standing there with deputies and guards and armed guards, forcing you into this. You remove that judiciary out of there, they're done. They're not going to be able to keep it up. And the evidence is out there, guys. Women, ladies, men, whatever, whoever wants to do this. The evidence is there. I showed you where to find it. I showed you why it's wrong. All you have to do is put yourself a little document together saying this is to be evidence used for impeachment of the following individual. I'm exercising my rights under the Articles 1 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, 1 through 26, or we're going to go into that real quick. But they are self-executing, which means they don't have to have any policies or procedures in place for you to exercise them. You just exercise them. And so I'm going to show you a case, and I haven't used any U.S. Supreme Court cases or any federal court cases in this couple videos. You can apply them, and they do apply under the full faith and credit The problem I found is that the states tend to try to give you some bullshit excuse that, you know, federal decisions don't apply in their courts, which they absolutely do, and I have case law to prove that too. But you can just shut them down by using Pennsylvania cases. So here you go. The Supreme Court's above you. Here they are what they said. And in Commonwealth versus National Gettysburg Battlefield Tower, Inc., 1973. The case number is 454 PA 193, and again, it's out of 1973. But here's where you want to look here, right at line 200, or right around 200 mark in there. It says in the first line, no provision of Article 1, right here, no provision of Article 1 has ever been judicially declared to be non-self-executing. So in other words, all provisions of Article 1 are self-executing. That's what it means. And you want to know what self-executing means? Here, this is what it means. Self-executing of law, a treaty or clause in a deed or contract coming into effect automatically at a specified time, no legislation or other action being needed for enforcement. I got this at this web address right here. You can pause the video, check that out. You know, there you go. And I want to emphasize again, these secretaries and chief of staffs of these representatives are the gatekeepers. They're going to try to give you some resistance when you go to bring this petition to them. And I had some issues in the process. The secretary that I went to the first time, because I had to go to a satellite office that was closest to me, she gave me a whole bunch of crap and started asking me a bunch of questions about am I on welfare, am I a criminal, all stuff that has nothing to do with whether these guys actually engage in a prohibited activity. So don't answer any questions. You have the right to keep your mouth shut. You don't have to tell them anything. Just say, look, I'm here to present a petition for impeachment. The evidence is included. See that it gets to the representatives so it can get before the House and somebody can get something done on it. That's what I'm here for. That's my right. I'm exercising that right. That right's laid out in the Constitution. Right in here under Section 20, the right of petition. And no, this isn't going to work for me. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, Article 1, Section 20. Why it doesn't want to go. These PDFs, what I did was I printed as a PDF, and it won't do the scrolls properly a lot of times when you go to scroll. So the right of petition. The citizens have a right in a peaceable manner to assemble together for their common good and to apply those invested with the powers of government for redress of grievance or other purposes by petition, address, or remonstrance. All right? It's pretty simple. Look at Article 25 also. To guard against the transgressions of the high powers which we have delegated, we declare that everything in this article is accepted out of general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate. It means they have to abide by it if they want to keep that position of government. You know, get familiar with Article 1. All powers inherent in people and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may think proper. Well, right now, though, I think the proper way is for getting these impeachments done. Get these guys out of government. They don't belong there. They're sucking up $200,000 a year plus the taxpayers' money. Plus, they're getting incentives out of the cooperative agreements. I think enough is enough. They're sitting fat on the hog while we're all struggling. Some of us are left with almost nothing left of our paychecks with this. So let's, you know, put this together. Even those that aren't affected can put this together. All you need is the evidence. Show, you know, make a statement of facts. Look, this guy on this date, according to the cooperative agreement, engaged in prohibited activities under Article 5, Section 17 of the Constitution. Quote the article and section. You can look it up. And I also showed it in the other videos. And then show the pages where they signed. Say on page 32, 86, and 102, or whatever pages they are. Here's where they signed. Here's the evidence. I want them impeached for engaging in prohibited activities. They've done it. There's no question about it. So, fraud upon the court. Let's talk about that. That's another avenue that we need to address, because that's what it is. Fraud upon the court. The cooperative agreements are fraud upon the court. When the judges have signed these things and they're sitting there on the bench, they've tainted the judicial process. And this is a United States court. So I don't think it's a Supreme Court. Yeah, it might be a Supreme Court. Anyway, there's the case number right here. It's Bullock versus United States, 763 F2D 1115, 10th Circuit, 1985. Fraud upon the court is fraud which is directed to the judicial machinery itself, and is not fraud between parties or fraudulent documents, false statements, or perjury. It's where the court member or a member is corrupted or influenced, or the influence is attempted, or where the judge has not performed his judicial function, thus where the impartial functions of the court have been directly corrupted. And fraud upon the court makes void the orders and judgments of that court. So we've got evidence that fraud upon the court has occurred. We've got evidence that the cooperative agreements are an unlawful agreement because they are done by engagement of prohibited activities under Article 5, Section 17 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. And so, it really is just that simple. You put together a petition. You say, this is directed toward the House and Senate, or whoever it is. I did the House of Representatives. I can show you mine. I really don't like to show the specific personal details, and I want to try to get you guys to do an original petition, because if they get 195 districts bringing 195 original petitions, all basically with the same subject matter, that these cooperative agreements and the judges engaging in prohibited activities, they're not going to have much choice but to have to do something. Because if all 195 people or whoever, I don't know how many people are going to do it. I'm hoping for at least 195, one from every district. I'd like to see at least 67, one from every county, do it. But, if everybody got together, and we don't have to talk to each other, just do it. And then, we can put our own videos together or whatever and show our progress. And that's what I've been doing, is just kind of showing my progress, and how I did it and what's been done. But, I don't know what other questions I can answer. I'm not an attorney. I'm just here to help show what I've done and what can be done, and where the right comes from, or where the right's secured, not where it comes from. Because our rights don't come from these constitutions. Our rights are inherent from birth. The Creator has endowed us with these rights, and they're secured by these constitutions as a limitation on government. It means they can act as government so long as they observe and protect or do not infringe upon the rights that we've declared. They're legitimate. If they start doing that, then they're no longer legitimate. And like I said, these cooperative agreements, all they're doing is building a corporate government. And they're doing it by deception and fraud upon the court. It's that simple. I really wish I could help more in your specific questions. I don't know what they are, and I don't really have the time. I just don't. But again, we'll just break it down. The cooperative agreements are unlawful. They're unlawful because these president judges signed them and engaged during the signing, engaged in a prohibited activity as listed under Article 5, Section 17 of the Constitution. We have a right to petition the government for grievances. This is evidence of a prohibited activity. It's evidence that can be used toward the impeachment process. The impeachments go to the House. They have to be given to a representative in your district because that's just how it works. If you're not a constituent of the district that you give it to, they're not going to do anything. They're going to say, go see your own rep. So go see your rep, give it to them, tell them, take it to Clancy Meyer, who's the current parliamentarian, and have him bring it to the Speaker, have the Speaker address the House with it, and get it in front of the Judiciary Committee. And they'll do that, which is where mine's at, and then, you know, from there, they're to investigate, see if there's a finding, which they shouldn't have any way to say there's no finding. I mean, I've showed it all to you. It's there. And then they have to put a resolution out, like I showed you in the second video, or maybe it was the first one, but all the House resolutions, it's House Resolution 4 and so on, they're in there. You just stop the video, read it, look it up. And then once the House brings the resolution forward, it goes to the Senate. Once it goes to the Senate, you can sue the shit out of them, whoever these bad actors are, if they've affected you, because now they've been accused. And like I showed you in Article 6, I believe it is, and it's Section 6 in the last video, once they've been accused, whether they're acquitted or found or indicted, they're liable for suit at law, plain and simple. So there you go. That's what I've been doing to try to ensure that when and if I take a federal suit to the federal courts, I have done everything according to due process of law that these constitutions say that we're allowed to do. All the remedies have been exhausted, and there's no immunity left. These people have been accused, their immunity is gone, and there you go. And while you're at it, you can look up, I believe it's Title 18, Pennsylvania 5301. It has to do with abuse of office. That's something else I put in my petition. Let me look it up real quick just so I can show you. It might be 5310. No, that's 5301, official oppression, abuse of office, right here. Basically, any person acting or purporting to act in official capacity or taking advantage of such an actual or purported capacity commits a misdemeanor of the second degree if, knowing that his conduct is illegal, he subjects another to arrest, detention, search, seizure, mistreatment, dispossession, assessment, lien, or other infringement of personal or property rights, or denies or impedes another in the exercise or enjoyment of any right, privilege, power, or immunity. That's Pennsylvania. That's similar to the 42-1983 language. Blow it up a little bit bigger for you. It's 18 Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes 5301. It's right there. Engaging in a prohibited activity is absolutely acting in against their official capacity. It says while they're acting or purporting to act in an official capacity. Okay? All right, they're sitting up there talking like they're judges. They're not really judges. They're independent contractors. You've seen what the cooperative agreement says. Go back to the videos and rewatch them if you didn't catch it. So there you go. That once they get committed of or get charged with this and convicted of this misdemeanor, they lose their pension. And I'll give you case law on that if I can find it, but I'm going to put it in the description box. I do have it somewhere. Anyway, good luck. Look the stuff up. Gain your knowledge. Do what you think's right, whatever it happens to be, whether it's impeachment or federal lawsuit or some other method of whatever you need to do. But get yourself free and let's get these guys out of office. I'm tired of it. I know you guys are too. Bye.